In our current reality, a singular idea reigns supreme, one that cuts across culture, geography, and politics. It's echoed by economists, championed by politicians, woven into education, and marketed in every advertisement: the free market. We're led to believe that the free market operates like an inherent force, like gravity or evolution. It's portrayed as the sole avenue to prosperity, innovation, and personal freedom. We hear that when markets operate independently, they foster fairness, growth, and justice. But what if much of this belief is misguided? The narrative of the free market is a contemporary myth. A story so frequently recounted that it's become nearly invisible. Like all potent myths, it not only influences our beliefs but also discourages questioning. This film poses a critical, even perilous question: what if the free market doesn't liberate us? What if it binds us to a system that benefits a select few, penalizes the majority, and promotes itself as the only reality? To comprehend our current situation, we must journey back in time. Before billionaires, before the World Bank, before trickle-down economics. We need to explore the origins of economic thought. Human beings have always engaged in exchanges of value, through trade, barter, gift economies, and mutual support. However, today's concept of markets, where everything, human labor, nature, and time, is commodified, is a relatively recent development. The narrative unfolds in Europe with the dawn of capitalism. As empires expanded, the principles of capital evolved. Land transformed from being sacred to mere real estate. Forests were redefined as timber. Rivers became assets of water rights. Capitalism's advancement relied on conquest and extraction. Yet, to make it acceptable, it required a moral philosophy. Thus emerged the concept of the free market. The early economists were not simply crafting policy, they were formulating an ideology. Smith's idea of an invisible hand wasn't intended as an absolute. However, it soon became doctrine. By the 20th century, the notion of the free market had turned into a gospel. In Western contexts, it was portrayed as the cure for communism, the engine behind the American dream, and key to global advancement. Yet, while capitalism generated wealth for some, it simultaneously fueled disparity, instability, and societal upheaval for others. Consider the Great Depression. The stagflation during the 70s. The financial crash of 2008. In each crisis, the free market was both blamed and saved. Its failures were reframed as mere imperfections. And what was the solution? More market involvement. Less regulation. Increased faith. Generations grew immersed in this myth. School children were taught that competition fosters excellence. College students learned that taxation equates to theft. Entrepreneurs were led to believe that disruption equals progress. Consequently, the world evolved, transforming not just our labor but also our mindset. Inequality was recast as meritocracy. Wealth became synonymous with virtue. Poverty was redefined as a personal shortcoming. Today, the market dictates nearly every aspect of life. Who eats? Who receives an education? Who gets medical care? Who is listened to? It has redefined our economies and our values. It tells us that efficiency trumps empathy. Growth is prioritized over well-being. Ownership is valued more than stewardship. Despite its assurances, the free market has led us to a precarious world, environmental crises, mass extinction, burgeoning global debt, escalating authoritarianism. Nevertheless, its advocates insist, trust the market. Let it function. It will self-correct. But perhaps it's time to stop placing our faith in the market. Perhaps we should start interrogating its validity. The most dangerous belief system is one immune to challenge. This isn't an anti-market viewpoint. It's a pro-human sentiment. Markets can serve as valuable tools. Yet, they are not divine. This narrative explores how the free market came to dominate our lives, and why we must shatter its hold to reclaim our future. Every prevailing system creates its own narrative. And like all truth claims, those by the free market require meticulous construction, repetition, and shielding from scrutiny. In educational settings, young minds are shaped by models, idealized supply and demand curves that oversimplify a complex world. They're led to believe markets are rational, humans consistently seek utility, and equilibrium is nature's plan. However, these ideals disguise the realities of power, privilege, and historical injustices. They trivialize human existence to mere transactions, excluding emotion, solidarity, and community ties. The market is marketed not merely as efficient but as virtuous. Efficiency is portrayed as fairness. Profit becomes synonymous with goodness. Regulation is deemed malevolent. Anything public is seen as wasteful or lazy. As this ideology took root, its structures solidified. Corporations gained citizen-like rights. Political campaigns morphed into bidding contests. Lobbyists transitioned from influencers to policy authors. Over decades, the state didn't disappear, it was molded to favor private interests. From tax loopholes to deregulated banking, from privatized schooling to outsourced incarceration, the invisible hand permeated every facet of public life. The media echoed this dogma. Entire networks became shrines to market ideologies. Anchors celebrated the Dow's gains while wages flatlined. Advertisements convinced us happiness was just a purchase away. Meanwhile, the promise of meritocracy proved hollow. The system that claimed to reward ability and innovation now favored wealth, inheritance, and manipulation. Globalization, too, bore market absolutism's trademarks. Trade agreements prioritized corporate supremacy rather than mutual advantage. Labor rights dwindled. Local enterprises collapsed. National sovereignty weakened. As jobs moved offshore and wealth obscured, despair spread. Yet the market was never held accountable. Individuals were urged to retrain, relocate, or work harder. Financialization transformed homes into assets, education into debt, and healthcare into a luxury. Entire economies floated on speculation rather than substance. Crashes became normalized, bailouts routine. Meanwhile, the planet faced devastation. Forests became commodities, oceans transformed into waste sites. Climate change was viewed as a market opportunity, carbon credits rather than actual climate action. This wasn't simply failure, it was a systemic blueprint. A structure prioritizing immediate profit cannot perceive long-term sustainability. Hence, the ultimate outcome of the free market isn't prosperity. It's collapse. Yet, everywhere, resistance is emerging. Farmers are reclaiming seed ownership. Workers are establishing cooperatives. Cities are trialing public banking and universal basic income. These initiatives don't dismiss exchange. They oppose oppression. They don't reject trade. They object to exploitation. The market isn't the adversary. However, its cult-like devotion must be dismantled, enabling democracy, dignity, and the survival of our planet. Because another world isn't just a possibility, it's actively being constructed. The tale of the free market isn't merely an economic story. It serves as a philosophical influence, a psychological paradigm, a cultural foundation. It shapes our thoughts, values, and identity. Yet, like all dominant ideologies, it conceals its premises. It teaches us to view competition as human nature, scarcity as inescapable, and inequality as an outcome of ambition. It wants us to believe there's no alternative. That without it, chaos ensues. That regulation is synonymous with oppression. That cooperation is synonymous with frailty. However, history narrates a different tale. For the majority of our existence, humans thrived in collaborative settings. Shared lands, mutual aid, collective decision-making. The market's dominance is the anomaly, not the norm. As its repercussions jeopardize our future, environmental degradation, democratic decline, mental health crises, and widespread precarity, we are underlining what we once disregarded. We can choose a different direction. Globally, individuals are embracing this change. They resist privatization, forge local economies, democratize workplaces, and revive public services. They're gauging success not through GDP but through well-being. Not growth but balance. Not profit but purpose. This movement isn't about an outright rejection of all markets. It's about challenging the cult that idolizes them. It's about restoring markets to their rightful status, tools, not absolute truths. Because tools must empower us, not subjugate us. This begins by questioning, who benefits from such a system? Who bears the burden? What might an economy that uplifts life, with exploitation, look like? These discussions aren't utopian fantasies. They represent genuine dialogues occurring in schools, city councils, neighborhoods, and nations. And they require courage. The courage to question, envision, and reconstruct. For the most significant myth the free market ever imparted wasn't about economies. It was the idea that transformation was unfeasible. Yet we can change it. We are changing it. And we will continue to change it. The future is reserved for those who dismantle the spell, and create something meaningful to take its place.